I'll seek you out, flay you alive.
Hey guys, Pogo here, and welcome to the next episode of Pogo Teams, or the Teams mini-series. In this episode, we're going to add friendly fire. Basically, you have the ability to turn friendly fire off, where if you're on the same team as someone, you can't harm them. So there's a couple of parts to this. First, we need to put this into the team class. Then we need to write a command to toggle it. Then we need to write the actual listener to listen for the entity damage by entity event and then handle it accordingly. So first of all, before we begin, it was pointed out by a few people that both leave team and list teams have the same L alias. So I'm going to remove it from the leave team because you'd be less likely to leave a team than to list all of the teams. So that's just one mistake that I made. So first we'll go ahead into team and we'll have our private Boolean friendly fire. So if that's true, then friendly fire is allowed and you can basically attack anyone you want. If it's false, then you cannot attack people who are on the same team as you. So we'll go ahead and we'll just quickly add public Boolean allow friendly fire. You can call it whatever you want. You could call it get friendly fire, but for Booleans we usually use like is or has or something like that. So then we'll just return friendly fire. Friendly fire. Okay, I can type. And then of course we need public void set friendly fire allowed, and we'll just call this Boolean friendly fire, and we'll say this dot friendly fire is equal to friendly fire. So now we have our getter and our setter. Now of course for the serialization we need to do map.put friendly fire, and then that will be of course the friendly fire Boolean, and then right here by default we'll make friendly fire be false. Booleans by default are false, and you know, chances are you're probably not going to want to harm people on the same team as you, so we'll allow it to be false by default. But in the deserialization, when you say this dot friendly fire is equal to Boolean, cast it to Boolean map.get for friendly fire. So that'll get it to us as a Boolean, so that'll be true or false, and then right there we also serialize it, and that should be good as far as inside of teams. So now let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and just copy this list members, because that's the most similar in that you have to already be in a team, and then it has some checks in it. And we're just going to call this toggle friendly fire. And then, so first we're going to say toggle the ability for teammates to harm each other. I think that's 2 words. And then optionally it'll take true or false. If you don't give it anything, it'll just set it to whatever it's not. If you type in true or false, you can obviously change it. And then for the extras, we'll do toggle friendly fire, or just friendly fire, or friendly fire. And then that should be good for that. So let's go ahead and delete the rest of this code. We of course want to make sure that they are first on a team. So if it's not null, if it is null, we tell them that they're not on a team, and then we are good. So now we're going to go ahead and declare a Boolean called new value, and by default, let's just set it equal to. We'll set this equal to not team manager dot get instance dot what do we call the method? Oh yeah, first we need to get the team dot allow friendly fire. So the new value is going to be what the opposite of the old value, but that's only if they don't specify anything. So we're going to say if args.length is greater than 0, then we're going to say if args0 dot equals ignore case true, then new value is equal to true. Else if args0 dot equals ignore case false, then new value is equal to false. Then we're going to go ahead and say team manager dot get instance dot get team for the player dot set friendly fire allowed, and we're going to set it to be new value. And then of course we want to send them a message. We're going to say check color dot green, and we're going to say friendly fire is now, and then we're going to use a little ternary operator. This part is not terribly important, it's just a compound if statement. So if new value is true, then nothing, but otherwise not allowed. So just what we're doing in there is if this new value is true, then it's just going to say is now allowed. If it's not true, then it's going to say not allowed, and we need to actually have it like that. So then it'll do that accordingly. So what we're doing here is the new value is going to be equal to the opposite of the old value. Then if they do specify something, then we'll handle it whether it's true or false, but by default it's just going to toggle it. So if they don't enter any argument, or if they enter an argument that's not true or false, then it's just going to automatically toggle it. So that's good for there. Now let's actually go ahead and write the listener, which is probably, I guess, the most interesting part of this episode. We're going to call this the player damage listener. And then this is going to go ahead and implement listener. One thing, because I know I'm going to forget, is that I forgot to register the command. So we have leave team, list members, list teams, and that will do toggle friendly fire. Okay, so that's registered. Now we're going to go ahead and do, we're going to use, first of all, on player damage. This is actually going to be an entity damage by entity event, which of course is called when one entity is damaged by another entity. And we're going to have to do a couple of interesting checks here. First of all, we need to check if the person who was damaged is in fact a player. And then if they are, we need to figure out who damaged them. It could just be a player, but it could also be an animal, or it could be a projectile shot from a player. And if it's like an arrow that hits you, we want to figure out who shot the arrow so we can disable it. And then, of course, we want to check for friendly fire on the teams, check if the teams are the same, and check for the friendly fire policy. So first, we're going to say if e.getEntity, that returns the one who was damaged. We're going to say if it's instance of player damaged is equal to, and then we're going to cast e.getEntity to player. So we now know that whoever was hurt was a player. It wasn't an animal or anything else, so we're good there. Now we're going to go ahead and we also want to say damager is equal to null. So we're going to make damager, but just make it null by default. Then we're going to say if e.getDamager instance of player, then damager is equal to player e.getDamager. So we now know, so if the damager is a player, then we can safely cast it. But otherwise, we could say if the damager is instance of projectile. So if this is any projectile here, then we could say damager is equal to, and we have to do a little cast here. We're casting, first we need to cast e.getDamager to projectile. So projectile, this is a little bit messy, don't really worry about that. e.getDamager. So now we have it casted as a projectile, and then if we go ahead and do get shooter, you'll see that there's this projectile source, and we can go ahead and add cast to player. and then we're good there. Don't worry about this deprecated thing, because if you look at it, there's one get shooter that returns living entity, and that's no longer, that is deprecated, sorry. And then this get shooter that returns projectile source is not, and that's one that we're using, so don't worry. But then we can safely do the cast, because player somewhere inherits from, from the projectile source. So we're good there. So now we're going to say if damager is not equal to null, because if the damager was not a player and it was not a projectile, then it could be null. So if it's not null, then we know that we have some kind of a player. We're going to say team A is equal to teammanager.getInstance.getTeam for damaged, and then B is equal to teammanager.getInstance.getTeam for damager. Then we're going to go ahead and say if A dot equals B, so if they're the exact same team, then we're going to say if A dot allow friendly fire. You could do A or B, it doesn't matter because they're both the same. So if A dot allow, and we want to use not allow friendly fire. If it does not allow friendly fire, then E dot set canceled true. So this code might look a little bit confusing, but basically first we make sure that the person who is damaged was a player, then we can cast them accordingly. Then we check and see if the damager was a player. If you just punched someone, then we can cast the damager to player. If it was a projectile, so like if I shot an arrow, then we can tell that it's a player. And actually, now that I'm looking at that, we should probably say if projectile e.getDamager.getShooter instance of player, because I suppose that there is a chance that it could not be that. What did I do wrong? Oh, yeah. Oh, wait. No, there we go. Okay. Then we can do the safe cast, because I suppose that something else could have shot it. So, if the shooter is an instance of player, then we can do this cast safely. So, if the damager is not equal to null, so if it was directly or indirectly a player, we get the team for both of the players. If the teams are the exact same, if they're different, then we don't care about the policy because it's not friendly fire. Then if friendly fire is disallowed, which by default it is disallowed, then we cancel this event. So finally, all we need to do now is register the event. I guess we should probably get rid of that, and we can also get rid of that. So we'll go ahead and do bucket.getServer.getPluginManager, and we're going to register events for new player damage listener, and then this is the plugin. Okay, so that's all for this video. We added friendly fire with the field in the team class, the command for toggling it, and then of course the listener to actually honor the choice. As always, subscribe if you want to see more, comment with what you want to learn. If you like this video, click the like button, and I will see you guys soon with some more videos. Bye.